This was the moment I realized I was in for an experience far beyond my expectations. A military convoy preparing to storm an enemy position is not too strong a metaphor for how Gardino Drilling arriving on scene the morning of drill day number 1 looked to me. From far below on the bridge, to moving up my road in the dusty distance, to pulling onto the property and setting up all the rigs, it was an elegant ballet of heavy machinery like I've never seen. Episode 5 was a long time ago, but I'll never forget my interview with Augie, who that day gave me every detail I ever wondered about well drilling, and in terms I could understand clearly. But because he and his team have so much experience together, and he comes from a long family history of drilling, including nearly every well on this very ridge, I just assumed from his descriptions back then that each operation he talked about undertaking in the process to get water to the surface of my land was a walk in the park. And for him, as with any craftsperson who's done a thing over and over and over, they probably are. But as luck would have it, drilling for water at Casaluna has taken nearly every tool and process in a well driller's quiver, and I was there to film it all. That's Augie there, and his brother Dominic is in the skid steer. And while the rest of the team got things moving in the right direction, the three of us broke away to discuss the morning's most important agenda item that would set the stage for how fast they can move later in the day: the drilling location. Augie had said in episode 5 that his preference would be 10 to 15 feet off the fence line to give us proximity to the house, but also enough room to put in a perimeter access road and space to service the equipment later down the line if the need ever arose. But knowing Gardino as I now do, I seriously doubt this well will ever need anything but the county's mandatory annual water quality tests. As I said in episode 5, buckle up. This one's going to be a wild ride. But before we get to that, let's back up a bit. Just look at all this crap behind me, and you'll realize it's well drilling day, and I am headed to Casaluna right now to camp overnight and await the arrival of all the drill rigs, all the dudes, and in theory, we will be hitting water tomorrow. Fingers crossed, because that's a very expensive hole to not hit water. It might not seem like it, but I am actually pretty nervous at this point because it has been so long in coming, and it's finally one big roadblock that is about to hopefully be removed, but at a tremendous cost, and it's not even guaranteed that we're going to hit water. But I'm hopeful and optimistic and excited to see what tomorrow brings. Here, check this out. Sleeping bag is right there, ready to lay out. I got my pillows behind me. I got a bunch of junk food over there. And that is the view. Stars are stunning. It's very, very dark out here. And yeah, it's gorgeous. So, happy well drilling eve. Standing out here at sunrise is always very inspiring. It's just stunning. Pretty soon down that road, we're gonna see a whole bunch of equipment and people rumbling. I'm feeling very joyful about this. Like I said, I've been waiting a long time for this moment, and it's finally here, and we are happy. Oh, that's delicious. Cheers, friends. Happy mate morning. This is a nice way to start a day at Casaluna. And my first mate up here with you guys. How about that? Okay, we're all caught up now. Stuff on site. All of a sudden it happens. And we're off and running, man. That was very sudden. They're just cutting a flat patch to get the drill rig in there. And these dudes are making quick work of it. Augie's dad showed up, and his brother's working on site, and I think his other brother's working on site. So this is literally super family-oriented, owned and operated. It's pretty awesome. I assume this is for lining the hole. Water for priming the pump, maybe? I don't know. Like I say, they're just making a flat pad right now with a drill rig to get in and start putting a hole in the ground so fast. These dudes are pros, man. I love it. It was right about then they started moving things into place. The pad was cut and the drill rig got moved in, and well, the derrick is up and vertical. The derrick is the big giant rig that holds all the lengths of drill, and they're just getting ready to lower the drill bit to the ground and get going. And I'm just waiting to see a plume of dust come out the back of this thing. There it comes. I can't believe it. This is totally surreal. Starting small. You can see the drill spinning there. Super, super cool. These extra pipes here are basically just like on an oil drilling rig. As you reach the end of one into the ground,
once you get down, the top ed's going to break, and it's going to come up, grab another piece.
Oh, it'll grab it, so it's not a human transfer thing.
Right. As long as they're making like 20 to 40 feet an hour.
Listen, it's totally non-intuitive for me, at least, that water flows in the soil and the rocks beneath our feet. And it's especially non-intuitive that it can even be found in the ground at the top of a mountain? Wait, what? How? Why? What's funny is that a 1904 Texas Supreme Court case famously noted, in respect to underground waters percolating, oozing, or filtrating through the earth, the existence, origin, movement, and course of such waters and the causes which govern and direct their movements are so secret, occult, and concealed that an attempt to administer any set of legal rules would be an exercise in hopeless uncertainty. And that was exactly my thought process when I started learning about water wells too. I needed a lot of explanation, so hopefully I can pass along some of what I've learned in a clear and concise way. Rocks and soils have tiny spaces or pores in them, and the ability of water to flow through these spaces depends on the porosity, or the amount of empty space between the particles, and the permeability, how easily water can move through those spaces. Even dense rocks can have enough of these spaces to let water seep through, like sandstone, for example. There are underground layers of rock or sediment that can hold water that are called aquifers, and they can be made of gravel or sand or porous rock like limestone. They act like natural reservoirs, and water moves through these aquifers from areas where there's a lot of water, which are called recharge zones, to areas where it's less abundant. And gravity also plays a key role. I love it when gravity plays a key role. Anyway, water naturally moves from higher to lower elevations. So even on a ridge, water can flow down through layers of rock and soil, and as it moves through the ground, it fills up those aquifers and other underground spaces. So there you go. Even if you're on a mountain ridge, there's still a way to access groundwater. The key is understanding the underground landscape and drilling deep enough to reach the water-rich layers. And this is something that Augie and Gardino Drilling are masters of. First, a drill rig drills down into the earth to create a vertical hole. Then a steel or plastic pipe called casing is inserted to keep the walls of the hole stable and to prevent any soil and rock from collapsing into the well. That casing has sections that are solid and others that are perforated to allow water through. The space between the casing and the borehole is called the annular space, and it gets filled with gravel or coarse sand after the hole is drilled and the casing is in, and that is known as the gravel pack. This layer acts as a filter to keep out tiny particles while letting clean water through the perforations in the casing. For the area around the casing that isn't screened, it's packed with clay. And this clay swells and forms a seal, preventing lower quality groundwater from contaminating the well. And then water's pumped to the surface. We're going to use a solar-powered submersible pump that the guys are just going to drop down there somewhere near the bottom of the hole, but actually up a ways so it's in the fresh water reservoir that would be seeping through the gravel pack and into the casing. That's the basics of what we're trying to accomplish here in oversimplified terms, maybe. But of course, on paper, it all sounds so easy.
So we got down 60 feet with a 10-inch bit.
Yeah.
Now pull everything out. We'll put a smaller bit in and go back to drilling here.
Lots and lots of dust in your face, in your glasses, on your screen, on everything. We're over 60 feet down. Last I heard, you can see right there, sort of, is the outlet for the tailings, for the material coming out of the ground. Still dry. Fingers crossed we get water eventually. Augie says that Augie says that we're gonna have all of our answers we need for whether there's water here by lunchtime. It is currently 10:41. So we'll see how that goes. And if ever you wanted to know what the dirt here at Casaluna tastes like, today is about the best day you could imagine without coming up here with just a spoon and eating it yourself.
So we're down 90 feet. When this rod gets down, we'll be down 100.
If there's water down there, the composition of this pipe changes, right?
Well, it's pretty obvious. We have dust now.
Yeah.
As soon as we get water, that dust will change.
Turns to mud?
Yeah. We could inject water. We don't want to start injecting yet.
Yeah.
Blowing a little bit. We know this formation, there's no asbestos or anything really gnarly in there.
Yeah.
I mean, the guys do have respirators. They, for whatever reason, they don't want to wear them. But that pounding noise you hear, we have a hammer on there at the bottom of it. Just like, imagine a jackhammer.
It's like an air hammer?
Yeah, exactly. It's an air hammer, except the bottom of it, it's a round face bit with buttons, and that thing's rotating. And every time you hear it, it's rapping. And so that air hammer is going down, pulverizing that rock, shooting it out of the hole. He just unloaded. He pulls up a little bit. And so what happens is when you pull up, you take the pressure off the bit and you clear the chamber. So
I see.
You're giving it a big shot of air. Because as they're drilling, the hammer is requiring air to operate. So as they're drilling, part of that air is being used to run the hammer, and the exhaust is what's pushing the cuttings out to the surface. But what's happening is he's drilling so fast that he has to pull up to clear the hole.
Gotcha. And the guys are there with shovels just to clear the accumulated dirt. Basically the fine particles that come out of there just accumulate, right?
Well, just everything. They're clearing it back because they're anticipating getting water in that water. They're creating a channel.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like potentially a big strong flow then, yeah?
That's what you want to see.
So about 120 feet at this point, probably, yeah? For these guys, it was probably just another day at the office, but for me, the emotional and financial stakes were pretty high. I just tried to stay out of the way and gather as much information as I could on the process.
Gonna hit water in the next 25 feet.
You think so?
Yeah.
Fears of what drillers call a dry hole, basically a drill site that yields no water, have always been with me since the day I put these wheels in motion. But back then, that was all theoretical worry. Now, I was in it for real, with quite a lot of real money on the line too. If this site turned out to be a dry hole, the cost of the overall project would skyrocket. And if no additional spot on the property could be located where we could get water out of the ground at massive additional expense to even attempt, it was clear I'd be sitting on a very expensive piece of land that's only good for dry farming and livestock. And the Casaluna house dream I've been dreaming for the last 2 years goes right out the window. I'm getting a little worried here. We're 160 feet down. Like I said, maybe we should be seeing our first water the next 20 feet, about 40 feet ago. A little worried. You can see the color of the dust has changed. I think that's due to the fact that we're going through some rock now, probably, different kinds of rock. So, yeah, I'm a little scared. Ay, ay, ay. 165 feet came and went, and still no change to the cuttings, still no fall off in dust output from the drill. The hammering of the rig felt like it was pounding not just into the ground, but also an epic failure into my future. At some point, around 175 feet, I half-jokingly asked, "When did I start to worry?"
About 40 feet ago.
Maybe I was just trying to make myself feel better about a major expense that didn't seem to be paying off, or the fact that there wasn't even any certainty that it would. Or maybe I was trying to get some reassurance from a voice of experience that everything was gonna be fine. But the real possibility that it might be only a few dozen more feet of chalk-dry soil before it became evident we needed to move to a new drill spot struck a real note of fear into my heart. I'm not super worried yet, but I'm beginning to be super worried. I don't know. Jeez, scary. And expensive scary. 10 feet further down and still dry as your mom's Thanksgiving turkey. Augie, Dominic, and their dad Tom, seeing nothing but dust in the drill cuttings, had a sidebar and decided it might be necessary to start looking for that secondary location to try again with a fresh bore. Tom got in his car and took off down the road, and Dominic headed for one of the trucks to go see what he could see elsewhere on the property. It seemed my worst financial fears stood on the edge of a knife with no relief in sight. But then, despite the outcome remaining far from certain, we got a whisper of hope.
As you can tell by all the equipment and the layer of dust, it's been pretty dusty.
Yeah.
And then now all of a sudden, the formation starts sticking down here with moisture. See how now when he unloads, it's not a big dust plume? The whole top of the borehole is dry and dusty, so if there is some water there, it's going to come up, it's going to stick to the sides first.
Oh, I see.
We haven't hit the panic button yet.
As long as the geography is changing, we have a fighting chance, and it is constantly changing. So, keeping my fingers crossed. We still have a chance. It's not over yet. He just found wet earth coming out of the hole, so it's just not water yet. So we're gonna keep trying. We're only at about 260 right now.
So it's basically dry as a popcorn fart down to about 250.
Yeah.
Done that sandstone, and there's a little bit of moisture there. How much we don't know. So that moisture is coming up the hole, and it's really just digging into all that dust. Then what happens is, as that stuff right there starts to absorb the dust, it starts sticking and falling up, and so plugging up and then coming up. What he's going to do right now is he's going to start injecting a little bit of foam and water. The foam right there, that mixed with water is going to add volume to the hole.
Yeah.
And so it's going to help the upward velocity of the air to clean the hole, and then that's going to help assist move everything up.
Basically, the land is reluctant right now.
Typically don't like to inject until we have it, but we know that there's a point for that to happen.
Do what we can to see if we can help it. Ay, ay, ay. So at 280 feet down, we started pumping a mixture of water and a foaming agent into the hole to try and force any bigger chunks of material that had collapsed in from the sidewalls and any potential water that might or might not exist there back up and out of the borehole to clear the way for the next step in the process. Oh my God, I'm dying. Yeah, I think that's just the water they put in. Damn it. Celebrating too early. There's some sludge coming out. Oh, wow. Look at that. That's all the foam they put in. There's a lot of air coming out. And a lot more foam coming out. A little drilling. This is not good news. Guys, I'm scared. I'm scared. Oh, please don't let this be a dry one. Damn it. We have a channel dug over here. The sludge is running downhill, but no actual water yet. God damn it. I'm dying. I'm dying.
And everything you've seen so far is just the beginning.